Now, speaking of worrying trends, Israelis and Jews abroad increasingly concerned with preserving their heritage, a task that's becoming more and more difficult across generations especially. But Chinuch Yehudi, or the Jewish Education Organization, is trying to help. And joining to discuss is founder of the Jewish Academy School in Miami and director of the Chinuch Yehudi Organization in Florida, Rabbi Yehuda Kornfeld. Rabbi, it's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining. Now, in preserving culture and tradition, education obviously is a major aspect. What are the main reasons that Israelis send or tend to send their children to public schools and not Jewish schools abroad?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for having me. So first of all, just to put it into context, we're talking about surveys say more than 500,000 Israelis in America. That's more than 10% of the Jewish population in America. More than 90% of them do not send their children into Jewish education. Many reasons for that. We'll start with the first main reason is that, in Israel, schools are free. So in America, private schools are very expensive. And Israelis are just not used to paying for private schools. So that's something that it's not in the culture, in the Israeli culture. That's one reason. The second reason I would say is that they don't understand the whole idea of private Jewish schools in America because public schools are rated by their academics excellence, like A, B, C. Private schools have no rating. So in some way, the Israelis thinks that private schools are not so good like the public schools. And by being immigrants, they think that by sending to public school, they made it into the society, which is so not true because surveys say that private schools, kids score better, go to better colleges. So I think they just missed the concept of private schools. It's just not in the culture in Israel.
Well, so what are some of the differences between the public and the private Jewish schools in terms of values or education and Jewish heritage?
Right. So in public schools, as we all know, you cannot teach anything that has to do with religion.
Well, you can't preach it, but you can teach it in and of itself, but you're not supposed to preach any one religion.
Right. Right. So you cannot teach anything that has to do with religion. Maybe put it as a culture, but it's against the law. So you can't get any Jewish religion or any religion in the public schools. And by Jewish school, it's a private school, so you can do whatever you want, and you could teach the Jewish education, values. You get the connection to Israel, Zionist, and all those things that Israelis really should want, especially by being immigrants in America and understanding that over 70% intermarriage are in the second and third generation. By the way, surveys show that there's more intermarriage in the Israeli community than the Jewish community, which is shocking to a lot of people. And probably the reason is because the Israeli community is also not connected to any community. Jewish community are connected. Even if you don't send to Jewish schools, you're connected to JCC, all kinds of, communities. But Israelis are not connected to the communities. Therefore, their second generation, the kids who grow in America, do not get any connection of Jewish identity. Therefore, it's even more important for them to send to Jewish education.
All right. Now, we know that there are many different kinds of schools, different rated schools, as you mentioned before. How do you know which school fits each student? How do you find the right match? And how do you manage actually to also help those students get into those schools and overcome some of those issues that you mentioned earlier, like transportation, price, etc.?
Right. So first of all, you have to do your research about even private schools, even though they're good. And in my opinion, they're better than, public schools. But you have to do your research. There's different types of private schools, and you have to see that it's good for your child. In terms of tuition, Chinuch Yehudi Organization, the mission is to get different scholarships from different organizations and help those children. Our mission is that no Jewish child should have to go to public school just because of financial issues. It should not happen. Every Jewish child should have the opportunity to have Jewish education. And therefore, first of all, we get scholarships from different organizations, including our organization, Chinuch Yehudi, to give the child the opportunity to come to Jewish schools. We actually negotiate with the Jewish schools, with the private schools, by coming to them and say to them, we're giving money to this school. We're getting scholarships. You also have to help.
All right. Rabbi Kornfeld, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thank you for having me.
Will your children grow up Jewish? It all depends on their education. For more information about an Israeli scholarship, scan the QR code here.